Theodor Roethke's last book was called The Far Field, and I think this contains some of his best poems. The eponymous poem, The Far Field. In this poem, he describes his dreams of journeys, and obviously the ultimate place where he's journeying to is his own death. I dream of journeys repeatedly, of flying like a bat deep into a narrowing tunnel, of driving alone without luggage out a long peninsula, the road lined with snow-laden second growth, a fine dry snow ticking the windshield, alternate snow and sleet, no oncoming traffic, and no lights behind. In the blurred side mirror, the road changing from glazed tar face to a rubble of stone, ending at last in a hopeless sand rut where the car stalls, churning in a snowdrift until the headlights darken. At the field's end, in the corner missed by the mower, where the turf drops off into a grass-hidden culvert, haunt of the catbird, nesting place of the field mouse, not too far away from the ever-changing flour dump, among the tin cans, tyres, rusted pipes, broken machinery, one learned of the eternal. And in the shrunken face of a dead rat, eaten by rain and ground beetles, I found it lying among the rubble of an old coal bin, and the tomcat, caught near the pheasant run, its entrails strewn over the half-grown flowers, blasted to death by the night watchman. I suffered for birds, for young rabbits caught in the mower. My grief was not excessive, for to come upon warblers in early May was to forget time and death. How they filled the oriole's elm, a twittering restless cloud, all one morning, and I watched and watched till my eyes blurred from the bird shapes, Cape May, Blackburnian, cerulean, moving, elusive as fish, fearless, hanging bunched like young fruit, bending the end branches, still for a moment, then pitching away in half-flight, lighter than finches, while the wrens bickered and sang in the half-green hedgerows, and the flicker drummed from his dead tree in the chicken yard. Oh, to lie naked in sand, in the silted shallows of a slow river, fingering a shell, thinking, once I was something like this, mindless, or perhaps with another mind less peculiar, or to sink down to the hips in a mossy quagmire, or with skinny knees to sit astride a wet log, believing I'll return again as a snake or a raucous bird, or with luck as a lion. I learned not to fear infinity, the far field, the windy cliffs of forever, the dying of time in the white light of tomorrow, the wheel turning away from itself, the sprawl of the wave, the oncoming water. The river turns on itself, the tree retreats into its own shadow. I feel a weightless change, a moving forward as of water quickening before a narrowing channel, when banks converge and the wide river whitens, or when two rivers combine, the blue glacial torrent and the yellowish green from the mountainy upland. At first a swift rippling between rocks, then a slow running over flat stones, before descending to the alluvial plain, to the clay banks and the wild grapes hanging from elm trees, the slightly trembling water, dropping a fine yellow silt where the sun stays, and the crabs bask near the edge, the weedy edge, alive with small snakes and bloodsuckers. I have come to a still but not a deep centre, a point outside the glittering current. My eyes stare at the bottom of a river, at the irregular stones, iridescent sand grains. My mind moves in more than one place, in a country half laden, half water. I am renewed by death, though of my death the dry scent of a dying garden in September, the wind fanning the ash of a low fire. What I love is near at hand, always in earth and air. the lost self changes, turning toward the sea, a sea-shape turning around, an old man with his feet before the fire, in robes of green, in garments of adieu. A man faced with his own immensity, wakes all the waves, all their loose wandering fire. The murmur of the absolute, the why of being born fails on his naked ears. His spirit moves like monumental wind that gentles on a sunny blue plateau. He is the end of things, the final man. All finite things reveal infinitude. The mountain with its singular bright shade, like the blue shine on freshly frozen snow. The afterlight upon ice-burdened pines, odour of basswood on a mountain slope, a scent beloved of bees, silence of water above a sunken tree, the pure serene of memory in one man, a ripple widening from a single stone, winding around the waters of the world. The same poem, a poetry collection, contains a number of shorter poems. One is called Fourth Meditation. I was always one for being alone, seeking in my own way eternal purpose, at the edge of the field waiting for the pure moment, standing silent on sandy beaches or walking along green embankments, knowing the sinuousness of small waters as a chip or shell floating lazily with a slow current, a drop of the night rain still in me, a bit of water caught in a wrinkled crevice, a pool riding and shining with the river, dipping up and down in the ripples, tilting back the sunlight. Was it yesterday I stretched out the thin bones of my innocence? Oh, the songs we hide, singing only to ourselves. Once I could touch my shadow and be happy. In the white kingdoms I was light as a seed, drifting with the blossoms, a pensive petal. But a time comes when the vague life of the mouth no longer suffices. The dead make more impossible demands from their silence. The soul stands lonely in its choice, waiting itself a slow thing in the changing body. The river moves wrinkled by midges. A light wind stirs in the pine needles. The shape of a lark rises from a stone, but there is no song. I think the great thing about Roethke is his poems were full of songs. His poems were songs. One can see perhaps a sense of nature, which he grew up amongst, a sense of place, a sense of his own lostness, but there is an absolute sense of his identity as a poet. His work is very little known in England, and it is a great sadness. He reminds me in some way of my favourite French poet Jacques Reda, who had this same immediate lyrical sense of his surroundings, his sense of his childhood, his sense of his maturing into adulthood and maturing as a poet, and most of all his sense of his duty as a poet not to bore the reader. Roethke, like Reda, is never boring. He is there, he is alive. When he feels the wind, we as readers feel the wind too. When he looks at flowers, when he puts his hand in a river, we can feel the water, we can smell the flowers. And he is to me one of the great but not truly remembered sufficiently poets of the 20th century, and I hope as time passes his work will be seen for what it is, truly and absolutely monumental.